And what came to my mind automatically is like, I know a lot of believers like we hear all these things. Oh, God is so good. God is a miracle worker. God is a promise keeper. God is a way maker. All these things. But then I even know people in my own life. They block the move of God. They block the signs, miracles, wonders that we all want to see with science, right? Science, right? So my question is like, yes, we love God. We see that God is good. We see Him doing miracles. But how do you explain to the believer, or how do you explain to the non-believer rather, um, God, when they're so in love and you know into science, and they always want an explanation. They always want proof of God. Where's the proof? I need to see a tangible God. I need to see something tangible. I need to see the evidence. I need to see the research.
Yeah. To people that are ever like lost, I would say if you want to see God, you are going to see God through His Word. His Word and the speaking of the Holy Spirit. These are the two things that are most um, sufficient and more, and so that will convince you that there is a God. You know, first before you even enter into Christianity, I always like to look at it like this. I mean, this is how I always viewed it. But when I was a non-believer and then became a believer, I've always was under this assumption. First, I got to understand that there is a God, whether it's the Hindu God or the Muslim God or the Christian God or the whatever God that there is. I've got to understand the fact that there is a God. To say that there is no God is to say that you are being a fool. Then I've got to understand in which religion do I fall under, and which one makes the most sense. Um, I would definitely say that that is the approach that I took to becoming a believer. Now, for anybody concerned with like, oh, how in the how could you prove to me that there is a God when nobody has even seen God, right? Nobody in this day and age has even come across. That's why He's left us with His Word. Now, like you may be saying, well, the Word is just the Word. It doesn't speak to me. It doesn't um resonate with anything that it doesn't resonate with me. It doesn't like have any communication with me, like a verbal communication with me. But you realize that there's also something called nonverbal communication as well, right? There, that is a form of communication. God has left us with His eternal word called the Bible, right? And people want to say it's the basic instructions before leaving Earth. Whatever you want to interpret the Bible as, what what we need to understand is the Word of God, which is the Bible, is all the evidence that you need to know that there is a God in this world that is watching out for us. And it has become, even in this day and age, very um understandable by a lot of people that there is a God that somewhere watching out for us. Now you ask, oh well, where is there a God? Right? Is there a God? Does God exist? Right? And um, in Genesis 1, we can definitely find out that, you know, God had created the heaven and the earth, right? And He set time, space, and matter up because He wanted to tell people, I am above time, I am above space, I am above matter. I'm above everything that you think is above above your comprehension. We don't know when time is going to end, right? We don't know how far we can go out into space, right? Space is all the way out there, and matter. I mean, matter is everything we see on this earth, right? Right from solid to liquid to gas. Solid turning into liquid, liquid turning into gas, gas turning into liquid, gas turning into solid. You know, all these different all these different um, forms of matter we see. from condensation to freezing to melting. All we see all these things and we just think, oh no, God had nothing to do with that. But a verse that always, like I mentioned before, stuck with me is that God's invisible qualities and his nature is seen throughout creation. If we go through each verse in Genesis 1, we do find out that time, space, and matter was there. Like, that was the formula that God had set. Um, and and if you even look at like even laws of physics, there's no way that like you can tell me like that it was there. Like if you check in the beginning it does not necessarily mean at 12 o'clock God created the earth. But in the beginning, like at that time, scientists actually set up the actual time. They created calendars. They created 12 o'clock, 11 o'clock. Before this, people didn't operate along that one. When the universe came into motion, it was just simply the beginning and the end. Jesus says he's the beginning and he's the end, meaning what? He's in control of time. It's not a coincidence that he says that, and then somewhere else it says, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. He says that clearly because he will he will press the start button and he will press the end button. That's what it is, basically. You know, you know, that's what time is, at least. That's what he created in the beginning. When time started, God created the heaven and the earth. Heaven is space. So anything you see in outer space is viewed as heaven. I mean, anything that you see in outer space is heaven, and that's also known as space. And the earth. Now, there's only one earth, and this earth that it's talking about is obviously the earth we live in, the planet we live in. Obviously, the earth is in outer space, but notice how the Bible never mentioned in the beginning God created the heaven and the earth, Jupiter, Saturn, Mars, Mercury, Venus, and all the other planets. The reason why the earth is specifically mentioned, and we'll later realize that in day three, God actually called the earth, the land, earth, right? He mentions that it's called earth. And the reason being is because we have a special place in the heart of God. Human beings and whatever takes place in this earth is more important than any other planet or anything else. That is in its own regard. Scientists can find only little life on other planets, and in other planets like Mars, there's only little life, not that much life, and in other planets, there's no life at all. However, when it comes to the Earth, what do we find out? We find out that there's life for everybody, for all humans to live, you know,
Exactly.
because this was made for us. And yeah, and the other thing is that the earth was without form, right? When when God had created the earth, he made it from nothing. Nothing became something, you know? Now people have been under the assumption of the gap theory, and people have talked about people have talked about you know, where do things come into being? Like if there was nothing there in the beginning, something had to create. Something had to be there in order for um something to come into play, right? And truth be told, there was nothing there. The earth was without form, right? And the darkness was upon the face of the deep. The only thing that was there was the Spirit of God. So right there, God's Spirit moves upon the face of the waters. So right there, you see that before time, space, and matter even existed, a spirit was there, right? God's Spirit was there. So for anybody saying that the Spirit of God is not God, it is. The Spirit of God is co equal with the Son and the Father. Why? Because it says right there, the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. Where do these waters come from? This is where the gap theory comes into play, because a lot of scientists do believe that there was water here in outer space before time began. And in fact, currently, as I still speak to you, there is water in outer space. There is water. It's just not like the water that you may see, like the seas and the oceans, that is like visible here. But then there's also the understanding of gravity as well. Um, so yeah, is there a possibility that there is water in outer space? I do believe, with my knowledge, that there is some form of in outer space, that there is water as well. Um, and to that point, on day two, when God creates this atmosphere or the sky, He does create it in the sense that there is water above the firmament of the sky and water below the firmament of the sky. The firmament obviously equals sky. God later translates the firmament to the sky. So, without any shadow of doubt, if you can ask any scientist if there is water above in outer space, there is a possibility that there is. And the Bible goes on to even clarify that by saying that there's water above the firmament, and then the water below the firmament, he calls it seas. Later on, scientists begin to broaden their understanding and call it specifically oceans, seas. Then they define what fresh water is and what marine aquatic water is as well. Um, and that's day two. But if we look at day one, right? God said, "Let there be light," and there was light, right? In order for the Big Bang to happen, what must have been there? There must have been light. You know, when those molecules had come together, I am under the assumption that light was the first thing that came into existence. Okay, in order for a bang to happen, right? If there's lightning and thunder, right? There must have been lightning first before the thunder happened. I am under the good assumption that lightning did happen when those molecules came together to form that bang. We call it a big bang, right? And this is why I'm this is why I do believe that God's invisible qualities are shown within creation today. Because if we look at lightning and thunder, right, we're able to see that lightning happens before the thunder. So when God says, "Let there be light," He turned on the light, and boom, the bang happened, right? That big bang that scientists know so well, right? That is where it all came into being. See, I don't believe in coincidences. A lot of people, they do believe in coincidences. I am not under the assumption that coincidences happen like that. And the Bible was written, right? Moses the prophet had written this book of Genesis way before the Big Bang Theory was even a thought to begin with. So with no education that Moses had, I mean, he only knew the accounts of Egypt. He still was able to write this and able to comprehend, or God Himself had told Moses, "Hey, there was light. I created light in the beginning, and this light was what was known as day one. It was what God calls day. Um, this light is actually what turns on the sun as well. So there is the day and the night. A lot of people are under the assumption. So where does the sun come? Why is the sun created on day four when on day one there's light? So what is this sun? Well, if we look at the electromagnetic spectrum, we're able to get a clear-cut understanding that light is reflected off of a prism, right? Or of any glass object, and and then it displays different lights, like the colors of the rainbow. Let's just say red, yellow, blue, whatever colors that there are, right? That's how we're able to get it off of this silver light. We're able to it. goes through the prism, and it makes different colors out there. The sun being one of them. The sun is what is called visible light. If you study marine science, or if you even study earth science, you will go to find out that the sun yellow, under the yellow spectrum, is known as visible light, which is why our sun today is yellow, because it is visible light. It is something that we can see with our visible eyes as well. But I will be under I can only assume that there is light that was just completely white. Um, and again, this is an assumption that the light was just a complete white day, right? And darkness is a complete night, right? Darkness is complete black. So it's just white and black. Later on, God made the colors, right? Because let's be honest, the light is what the plants need in order to survive. So if you see that on day three, God created the trees, the plants, right, and all types of vegetation that grows. All he really needs is light. Light is what light is what makes plants grow, along with obviously the heat and the ATP, obviously the energy that it needs to grow. But more than anything, the main source is the light. If there is light and water, then plants are able to grow. The plants already had the water, and God had structured this in a way where the plants already had the water, because God had separated the waters from the waters. Waters above the firmament and on the second day, and waters below the firmament, which is the seas. So they had plants. The plants already were there, and they had the water to support it. God had created the light on the first day, and the trees obviously was the next. Day four, God creates the sun, and He creates obviously the different celestial objects in the sky, the yellow, the red lights, stars, and and all. And then He goes on to create the animal. You know, and He separates it into two categories. The fifth day, on the fifth day, he creates the whales, he creates the fish, obviously, and he does it in a way because he knows his animals, like the ones that are going to be able to fly in the sky, and the firmament animals, basically. He divides it up. We divide as science divides it up into amphibians, reptiles, and mammals. However, God sees this as the firmament animals, the ones that need the sky and the water, which He so happened to create on the second day. He created those animals on the fifth day, and the ones that needed the land to survive, He created them on day six. So we can see that there's that correlation. Day two and day five go hand in hand, and days three and day six go hand in hand, right? And days one and four actually also go hand in hand as well.